It's been a it's been a long 3 days, and I hope very informative for all of you, and giving you a lot of food for thought and ideas to go back with to your schools, to your work, uh, things that you can follow up with, and things possibly that you could think about and come back to us with your own ideas. This conclave was, however, not so much like a conference where people were talking about their work in order to enlighten other people about it. It was more in terms of bringing on board and on record what is the status of dyslexia, so to speak, what work people are doing in different parts of the country, what uh, new tools, new legislation, new situations have arisen or come to the fore over the past couple of years, and taking stock of how we could put that all together and use it to advocate for a more comprehensive policy on dyslexia. As Dr. Keith Oberoi mentioned a little while ago, we have a window of a few months before states make it, or before the center passes it on to the states to make their own rules and regulations. We have a window of a few months where the act is new enough for us to quickly voice what we want, uh, where we want it to go, or how we want it to be shaped for the field of dyslexia and for our children. We feel very strongly that we are the foot soldiers. We are the people on the ground working at the grassroots level. We feel we know quite a bit about what is needed, what works and what doesn't. And we also feel very strongly that our voices should be heard. So I think this discussion is going to be on the grounds of what kind, not just what kind of guidelines and what kind of recommendations do we want to make to policymakers, or do we want, but also how possibly we need a roadmap on how we are going to make our voices heard. So, are there any comments or anything anybody wants to say from floor to this? Incidentally, all 3 days sessions have been recorded so far. They have been videotaped, and we also have an official recorder, a professional person recording the discussion, and we will be putting it all together, both the presentations and what Wanda is taking down and will hopefully give us in print. So thank you, Wanda, for that. And yeah, there's somebody at the back there, and Nina. Could you stand up, please, because this is quite important. And
so we here for, from my perspective, intervention is the key. And now intervention means, from what I understand, RCI wants only RCI registered people working with special needs. So then how do we, and I think Keith said 250 RCI registered SLD people.
That was with regard to assessment.
Assessment, I know.
Yeah.
But RCI registered special needs teachers, right? So then, how do we take it to the masses? How do we make it happen nation? I mean, we're talking about assessment. Parent is not looking, parent wants treatment, parent wants intervention. So, we spend a lot of time on the aspect of assessment. So can we think, all of us together, or introspect, how can we take it, convert from assessment to intervention?
I think when Neet was speaking about the numbers, she was talking in terms of the paucity of teachers available. And yes, that is a huge issue.
Right. So that's where, and I think I have seen actual advertisements in the newspaper, with the RCI saying very clearly, anybody practicing special needs with disabled children can be put between bars for 6 months and whatever. I've seen that ad in the newspaper. I have a clipping somewhere. So that kind of it was that sort of messages out there from the government. Then people, how are we going to take it to that nationwide intervention? Is my question.
And point well taken. Whenever we want to upscale, we want to involve a lot of people. But how do we upscale and yet maintain quality? So there has to be a give and take on that, and therefore, what will constitute and how RCI will accreditate is something which you was asking and which they were trying to answer. Maybe that is something we can look at. But you will need somebody who is accredited, because if it's not accredited, tomorrow anybody in their backyard will do something and say they're doing it. Maybe it works also, but here, how can you ensure quality? So there has to be a system of accreditation. What we can debate about is what is the process of accreditation, how to make it friendlier, what to make components of it to see that more people get accredited. But you can't say you can't have it accredited.
I think
so. That's anyways, it's a debate we can but it's
so
something
therefore,
to think about.
Can we table a point for recommendation or implementation is to initiate dialogue, possibly with RCI, to set up a formalism in order to ensure formalism for accreditation, and then based on that figure out a way which are the people and how might they do that. Can this be a point that we all agree on should be tabled and taken to RCI as soon as possible?
Right, and we all agree that teachers are the best people who can assess. So somewhere in that tabling, I don't know if for now, in the application or the next level.
Next point is also, while accrediting people who are already there, the second point is having a course which will empower teachers, like they had the one in Singapore. I think that was a brilliant idea. That they had that course in Singapore where they had the Dyslexia Association run a course of teachers, and they went through the training and they were accredited. So maybe for people who are already in the field, it's a shorter course. For people who are newer, it can be longer. All those things can be given credit for. But then the second point is to have a course.
It's fair enough. But a shorter, not a, we cannot have a long-term course.
No, those details will work out depending. In any course, you have credits for what you have done. But you have to do some of the things even then.
No, who and the how? Who and the how is there? Thank you. So that's what I was looking for, tabling just something like that.
I have a point. Ma'am, I am also a special educator trained from National Institutes Online. She has spoken already some points. I am going to add to that. But after finishing the course, really the intervention is coming. It was a complete task for me to really work and see the children. Can you know? Okay. I am also, I have done some special education from the National Institutes. I have been working as a special education teacher. But I was not able to bring any changes in the development of the children. But suddenly one day, Dr. Lalita came to our school, taught me the proficiency in sentence writing skill. It started working. And then I enrolled myself in Maharashtra Association for the Multisensory Intervention Program. Then I realized that I am a special educator. Okay? So the most important thing is that intervention is very important, not theoretical studying in. And RC is recognizing the courses which is only theoretical most of the time. Because I've done the course and I'm talking. and I've done this course also, I'm talking. I think I have the authority to talk like that. So, whatever the course done, conducted by organizations like Alpha and Omega, those conducted by Maharashtra District Association should be 100% recognized by Rehabilitation Council of India. That would be the best option right now for the betterment of the people in our country.
Point is very well taken. Again, once we initiate the dialogue with RCI, then these things can be discussed and included. So that we will definitely table as a point. Thank you.
To take one step backwards, also I think there is a need to define what constitutes an adequate training in learning disabilities.
I think that is something a committee decides. What we can decide are broad, mota things, that you need a RCI to have a course, then there is a smaller committee to work on the nitty-gritty as to what the course should be and who should do it.
There's one concern. Yesterday actually I was more observing, but so when we talk about assessment or intervention, they should talk to each other, and I think we have to keep this in mind. Whenever we are designing assessments, there should be direct implications on intervention. Then only we can have this addressing the problem correctly. So whenever we are trying to discuss all this, I would like all of you, because there are so many assessments and so many interventions floating around without really testing the validation of each of those interventions, and that is also the crux of the problem. So let's be mindful of whatever assessments we are using, how are we going to build them up towards the intervention skills, and when we make a recommendation, I think this also should go into the
in August we had a conference and we had a member from RCI who come to talk at the conference. Unfortunately, July he was transferred, but he did come and say the rules and the policies in RCI, how we can get the course. But he kept saying it has to be a 2-year program, and we all said 2 years teachers cannot leave the job. So now we have asked him, can we say the number of hours they can practice in their schools, have online and come for a small person-to-person classes. They're looking at it, but it's very difficult. It's like, you start, the baby's born, you have to wait for it to grow and see how it comes out. So I hope with a body like this and with Maharashtra and other people from places, we can take it.
I'd just like to add to that. I mentioned earlier that there is this thing going around, making the rounds. There are amendments being proposed by the RCI right now in their mission and vision. And I think we should all be part of contributing to that, because this is how we can get the dialogue started. So in that, to achieve that, I think that perhaps we should have a kind of group with emails from this, conference here or whatever it is, so that we can all get hold of that platform and get onto there and make our comments and, get ourselves heard.
I just want to follow up.
You made a very valid point. I think this must be the 4th or the 5th READ conference I'm attending. Everybody makes a point here, and Geet has been sending another email that has been going on that came to her from, I think, the RCI, the Social Empowerment and Justice. People don't respond to email. Please feel free to write down. It's almost like a signature campaign that people do. But instead of an email coming around and getting into your inbox and then going into trash after some time, if you put down what you have to say, sign that email boldly with where you come from as a teacher, as a therapist, as a special educator, as a counselor, it helps somebody who's collating that information to say, here I have the voices of 5,000 people. It's not enough to say, unfortunately, we need to provide backup in print. That word has value. So when there is an email or, like she suggested, a message come around, please document what you have to say with clarity, with brevity, and put it across so we can actually collate this. That could lead to change in recommendation. So please be mindful of that.
Can I just make a comment about the 2-year course in the UK? It's not actually full-time. It just takes 2 years to do it. So you only, I think in the course that's run by Leicester University, there is only 6 tutor sessions over 2 years. So that's only 6 per year, if I remember correctly. And then you then will see your tutor when you need to. So it's not like you're not being taken out of school or teachers not leaving school. They may be out for like 1 day every term. So that's the thing, what it's about.
Yes.
I did my BA from SMDT, and I remember one of our professors had said something interesting. She had said she was a principal of a school as well, and a special educator, and she said that she preferred hiring special educators in regular classrooms because they understood. So even children who are not diagnosed, who kind of slip through but have issues, get addressed because such teachers know how to address different styles of teaching. So it's a thought, is it possible, because I've had to do 2 BEds to become a special educator, it's my regular BEd, is it possible to probably, because so many more teachers do a regular BEd, and then of that a small population maybe becomes a special ed, whether the RCI could consider BEds being expanded to have special education. It's a paper now and it's an option if I'm not mistaken, but to build it into a regular BEd with an RCI accreditation possibly, whether you choose to do it maybe 3 more months, whatever, but to build it in so that you just have a vaster number of teachers anyway addressing students in the classroom, regardless of screening and XYZ steps, but they still get that first-hand step at the classroom level from teachers. It's a possibility.
Very valid point. I took this up to RCI and to the BEd committee last year. I think one factor which we have not capitalized on, it's an unfortunate factor to capitalize on. Nobody in India realizes the enormous impact of learning disability. Learning disability comes way down, but if you tell them the minimal incidence is 10%, that's when they sit up in their chairs. Okay? There's a lot that people talk about for hearing impairment, physical impairment, etc. But when you compare the numbers, it's nowhere close to what we suspect for learning disability. So the 10% versus a 0.2% or a 1% is something in terms of numbers which might be our best bet at trying to get somebody to wake up to listen. So that's something we could capitalize on. It's unfortunate, but I think if there's something that can get the ball moving, that might. And I also found when you talk to the RCI people, if you can suggest something that exists within their system but expand it to larger courses, they see it as an easier way to implement rather than appointing a new committee. And RCI, I'm sorry to say, is in shambles right now. It's going through a lot of reorganization, which they've been struggling with. So the director, they don't have a permanent director who keeps changing, who's not available, etc., etc. But since we have to address it, I would encourage you all to make suggestions about how some existing things might be tailored to incorporate ideas like this, because BEd is something that is something every teacher has to do. So there's an added factor in that could expand this. Something creative which would not be very difficult but would suit both purposes. Otherwise, you don't want to spend another 2 years fighting a battle to start a new course. So one is certainly a course in educational psychology, which I think we should just get on a rampage on to address. But additionally, also in terms of BEd, how we might try and do an expansion within the system, which could be added on maybe as soon as next year.
Nandini, I want to point out that the RCI actually does have, and Lalita will back me up on this, they have a curriculum worked out for a special BEd in special ed. And it, yes, no, but it also, there's one on learning, no, there is this BEd in learning disability.
Yes.
But there is no, except for SMDT, there is no college which is, and no, I have to add one more thing very importantly, it does not include any training in intervention of language. There is no language component there. So it's practically a redundant curriculum.
And no assessment as well.
No assessment, no yes. It's very, no, even intervention does not include language. So it's more like support and theory. So we need something, so to say that, build on it, I don't think it's...
But if there's an existing, so the way the university system works is, once a course is
Yes.
passed, it's documented.
Yeah.
The content of that course can be updated,
Yes.
modified, refurbished, and that might be one way to start out. Here it is,
Excuse me. Kate ma'am, can you just expand on what we meant about the SMDT course not having? I didn't get you when you mentioned that in the curriculum SMDT does not have assessment and language. I didn't understand. Can you just expand on that please? So because I am an assistant professor from SMDT, so I would want to know when you mentioned that in the course curriculum from SMDT, it does not have, if I've understood properly, I need to understand
Not
that.
have an adequate language component, even the LD course. So what we have found is that special educators who have done the LD course, when they come to us, they really don't know what to do with the child. They talk more about boosting his confidence and playing games. Not a single one of them has ever said, I know how to teach them to read. And that's the most important thing. Sorry? Please speak into your mic.
How many of you are from SMDT? Please put your hands up.
So could you give us the course details then?
No, so
Yeah.
most of it was very theoretical. We hardly had any practical experience. Of course, we used to go out and give lessons, but but there is no structured intervention program which probably I invested in later on to do. I mean, through FIE and so many other, not only FIE but PrEP and everything. So it's only taught you when you actually get practical experience in teaching the kids.
Did you do a B.Ed or did you do the M.Ed?
The
The B.Ed, yes. So this is just the point that I'm making, that if we say that dyslexia is primarily a problem with reading and writing, then the first line of intervention should be teaching reading and writing.
Ma'am,
Yes.
We are assistant professors from SMDT just now. We are teaching what is happening at the curriculum level. I am part of the LD, Learning Disability. We do teach our students remediation in reading and writing. What you are saying, agreed to that level where you are looking at, if you are looking at the quantum like alpha to omega, no. Quantum like what MD is doing with their, they have a program, that's a program. So if you are looking at teaching them a specific program in reading, no. Agreed to that. But if you say that we don't teach our students remediation in reading and writing, I would differ in there. We do teach them, we do give them lessons, we have lectures on teaching them remediation on reading and writing, we do teach them phonics, we do teach them phonemes. So there is a constructive way, but if you're looking at teaching them a program which is generally taking 2 years to teach, we cannot add that into a curriculum which is teaching so many other things.
Can I just take that? Can I take that? Yeah, so I agree. Okay, that there are ways and different ways of looking at this. There is a course doing, but we can always say that we want a course expanded further.
Yes.
Can we just say that we need to expand it further, and how we can have only one SMDT with so many students cannot be the answer. So we need multiplication.
That is fine.
So let me table it this way. running, but we need to enrich the course further if it's required, and we need to have more courses.
We are open to
Yes.
enriching the curriculum which is there at SNDT, that's not a thing, but we would not accept when you say that it's not being attended. We definitely are attending to it.
No, let's not get into this.
no.
Let's not get into this. We don't think it is anything about it not being taught, but there are different perspectives how to improve it further, and let's keep it at that. Is that fair? Yeah?
Yes, thank you.
May I say
Can I just add one more thing for the RCI or to the government?
Yeah.
If you're talking to the government just now. It's been on my mind since we've had this conclave, where I'm looking at assessment. When we look at assessment, each state has its own criteria, it has its own legal documentation that this has to be there, this has to be there, and all that. Can we request RCI or the Ministry of Social Empowerment to have a common rule or a common that this is the basic which needs to be there, and then the state can add its own whatever requirements are. Like if you're looking at maybe there are 5 components of a certain report which we need, which is common for all the states to
Minimum
follow.
standards. That's what it is called every time. That there will any policy will only give you minimum standards. Then it is up to you whether you add 10 things to it or 20 things to it to make it better. But they will give you minimum standards, and those minimum standards have to be followed.
Yeah, but when we tighten the nose on the minimum standards so there are less loopholes, because all state or anybody find those loopholes and they try to use it to their benefits.
May I say something? While we are talking,
Behind you, she's been waiting for a long time.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is regarding the certification part, and I'm representing Sassoon Hospital, Pune. We have been in terms with Nair Hospital in the past, and we've tried to streamline certain things from Nair Hospital in Sassoon Hospital, and it's really working well. Thank you so much. There's just one doubt that when the child is certified from Nair, Sign or KEM, at times it happens that the child is sent back to Sassoon because the child is giving his exams from the SSC board Pune. So the boards ask for certification from the particular district hospital, which is taxing for the parents and for the child, and they have to keep running, and that happens at the last minute when the child has to fill up the forms for the board exams. So there was just one doubt that even when we talked at our level at Sassoon Hospital, that on the certificate it can be mentioned that once certified, it has to be validated throughout, like overall in the state. Or I mean, there are no guidelines as such which have been mentioned.
This is happening now because the government has said that wherever you are staying, based on where you are studying, they have to certify. There is no clarity on this because then they say, let you take the certificate from Nair and show it to your district surgeon. What is the
Civil surgeon.
Civil surgeon, and they should certify. Clarity is not there, but that's a point that can go ahead to get it more. Yes.
Because most of the time it happens that the children who are from the CBSE or the ICSE boards come to Nair or Sign Hospital, Bombay, and when they come down, when they have their 12th standard or when they go for the graduation, they have the state board, and then they have to run to the main civil hospital for that district. So if something can be mentioned on the certificate, that could be for the beneficial for the parents and for the child.
Somebody got up to talk and we asked you to
I'll
talk.
tell you, Namrata Chauhan has been waiting right from the beginning of the session, so please.
I just say that there are about RCI is the organization. There are several national institutes that are functional across the country. We have 10 CRCs, that is rehab centers operating. We have 42 DRCs, that is district facility rehab centers, which are working currently across add on that, the rehab in itself,
comprises in our country, because I'm coming from AIPMR Mumbai, so I know what rehab structure, it is at par. We are working really hard. The entire team is operating in all these institutes across the nation. So even if you go down to the district level, or if you go to the local CRC at the regional center, you will get the resource that you are looking for. I've been hearing quite a lot, that is being said, about disability certificates and everything. The authority lies only with the district CMO. The authority is only with the district CMO. That is a guideline that says, to issue the disability certificate. Otherwise, you can approach the CRC. That is the composite, the regional centers that are operating, and you can find the entire information for the nation on this website, rehabcouncil.nic.in. Just plug in and you will find which center you have to approach, which is the nearest center to you, regarding the professionals that are operating. That could be PT, OT, speech pathologists, PNOs, prosthetic and orthotic engineers, clinical and rehab psychologists, everybody, any single person who is registered is available to you at a click. And you will know that, even you can find out, which is the nearest place and what you're looking for. You can actually just visit the website and, you can try and locate the nearest center to you and you can avail the services. That is all that I wanted to add, there's quite a lot that's happening and, it's actually functioning.
So, Madam, could you also enlighten us what exactly empowers these people to give this certification? Are they using some level of standard assessment or testing based on which they give the certification?
Yeah, actually, what happens that once the person with disability comes into, say, AIPMR, that is what I know, that is the All India Institute at Haji Ali, the person has to go to PT, they go to, that is physiotherapy, then an occupational therapist assessment, then a speech therapist assessment, and there is entire, we have an entire case profile for every patient. The director used to himself come in, and our director was Dr. Rathani. He's at present posted with the ministry in Delhi. And then we used to decide that the disability is 40% or not. It was a complete assessment, and they are still, I suppose they are still doing that, because it was happening during my time.
So I must say, thank you, and I must say I've seen photographs of the district level IECs that have come up the district, but when we tried to have a conversation with them, as far as locomotor, OT, they had all the equipment and everything there. Where they were struggling is how to diagnose learning disability, because they didn't know how to do it.
I agree.
We had actually a meeting with educationalists involved.
I would just like to say that we were following till I think December 2016. We were following the Act of 1995.
Right.
This has only come in place in December 16, wherein learning disabilities have been included in this chapter 4. I think it's just in the neonatal kind of a phase, and we gradually we'll pick up on that.
No, but I must commend them that though it was not in the Act because of the legislation and everything, they were talking about, we were being called even for their meetings, but how do we include learning disability in that?
Yes,
and the biggest problem was, who diagnoses it? How do we diagnose it? Can you train us for it? What do we do? We have these centers and they send us pictures to show, see, we have these centers and beautiful OT rooms and this is there and the ramps are there and everything is there.
Yeah.
But for learning disability, we don't know. So that is where the lacuna is, and when we can merge,
I think so. I think
with that
we need
is
to
already
work in collaboration, We need to, get a tie-up with the CRCs, with the DDRCs operating at district levels, that what do we do in the sector of learning disability and how do we just proceed further. That's all that I just wanted to add. DDRCs.
What is full form? District level?
District Disability Rehab Centers. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello. Actually, I'm very new to this
field, and I am looking from a research perspective. The dearth of research in this field is appalling. One thing. So this is just a suggestion, however naive it might sound, but this is just a suggestion from someone who's very enthusiastic and very new to this field. Like there's no journal. We have an Indian Journal of Pediatrics, but we don't have an Indian Journal for maybe learning and academic difficulties. So if we can have something like that where research is simplified and made accessible to school principals, to all the stakeholders involving the children. Research needs to be simplified because I guess research does not get out to the public at large. You know, the purpose of research gets lost because the research is not out there for the public to consume. So if the research gets simplified and is out there for the public to see, where we talk about the best intervention practices for learning and